Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. Today, we are going to continue with our theme of systems and processes that we started in episode 131. We continued last week in episode 132 as we talked about the mindset needed in order to really implement, put into place systems and processes in your business. And today, we are going to continue that conversation and we are going to focus on how the right systems can actually help you unleash your creativity. We are going to talk about how systems can free up your mind, how you can have this beautiful synergy between organization and creativity. Systems and processes are all about that organization. And I think, honestly, systems and processes can actually be creative too. If you've seen any of my workflows, sometimes they're really creative. But we want to really think about the concept of systems and processes and how it can create the right environment that fosters flow and creativity. I'm Dr. Moore, a college psych professor, homeschooling mom, and entrepreneur, and I've spent the past 10 years learning how to balance everything. Here on the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast, I'll share the ins and outs of maintaining a growth mindset and saying hello to grit, that thing that will get you to your long-term vision despite challenges and busy schedules. After all, you got into business to do more good in the world, right? So let's get started. Okay. If you haven't guessed it yet, if you've been a longtime listener, you probably already know I really like things to be organized. I really like things to have processes. I like systems. I like all of that kind of stuff. I love the journey that you go on when you start implementing systems because it creates a lot of simplicity. And above all else, I love simplicity. Even if it feels like I'm trying to make things complicated, I actually love the simplicity behind everything. So if you've begun to create systems around your recurring tasks, as we discussed in episode 131, you made that big long list of tasks that you do every week. You started to identify the ones that you do over and over and over. And then last week, I asked you in episode 132 to choose something that you could make a shift in last week as your action item. And as a result of starting to make a shift into systems and processes, you might have noticed that you are getting a little bit of mental relief. The idea here is that your brain is not a storage unit. It's a processing unit. Yes, okay, I know the brain does store things. I get that. But let's use it to its maximum capabilities. We want to absolutely remember things. We've got long-term memory. We've got working memory. We have all of that stuff. I could give you an entire lecture on how the brain uses itself for memory, for processing, all of that. But what I want you to think about is the fact that when you systematize tasks, it's kind of akin to decluttering your brain. You are freeing up mental resources. And yes, I know we have plenty of mental resources to go around, but just go with me. It's kind of like in the kitchen, all of your glass containers, storage containers for your food, they'll all fit in the cabinet if you just shove them in. But when you open the cabinet doors, they tumble out. They're hard to use because the lids and the bottoms are all in different places. There's no organization to it. There's no system. But when you have a system for your kitchen cabinet that has all of your glass storage containers, food containers in it, and the lids are matched up and the bases are matched up, and whether the lids are on the bases or just stacked neatly next to them so they align beautifully, guess what? When you open the kitchen cabinet, nothing falls out on your head, which is great, let me tell you. And it's a lot easier to, at the end of a meal and you have leftovers, to just go grab the container you need, pack things up and put it into the fridge or the freezer for later on. It's just so much easier, right? Okay. Imagine that your brain is kind of like that really cluttered kitchen cabinet. Not a lot of creativity happens, right? Because you are just so busy trying to make sure nothing falls out onto you when you open up the cabinet doors. So what if you had extra mental capacity for creative thinking? What if you decluttered and freed up your mental resources? For instance, as a business owner, If your administrative tasks are taken care of by efficient systems, your mind is free to strategize. You can brainstorm new ideas. You can come up with creative solutions for your clients. Systems, in this way, become a creative tool for kind of lessening your mental load and freeing up your mind for the creative stuff in your business. There is a myth that creativity thrives in chaos. Have you heard that before? I've heard it before. The reality is that organization is critical. Organization does not stifle. So the other half of that myth is that creativity thrives in chaos and that organization stifles the creative spirit. It's just not true. In practice, creativity and organization are not antithetical. In fact, they really do complement one another. The key is to have a balance. Effective systems organize your tasks, they streamline your workflow, and they allow your creative mind to really innovate, to have new ideas. Think about a painter with all of their brushes. They've got colors, they've got tools, all meticulously organized, right? Think about a photographer. Oh my gosh. Think about a computer software engineer. They have everything in their computer organized, so they know exactly what shortcuts work for what tools. It doesn't hinder their creativity. It doesn't hinder their creativity in their code. For the artist, it does not hinder their creativity in putting something down onto the paper. For the photographer, it does not hinder them to take that absolutely spectacular photograph because their gear bag is really super organized. When you systematize the mundane parts of your work, of your business, you are creating an environment that's clutter-free, that allows you to be creative, and that's going to allow you to thrive. I know we talk about this a lot, but anyone who's new to the podcast, flow is something that is a benefit of fostering that creative space. Flow is a psychological state where when you're kind of fully immersed in a task, you just don't know what time it is. You are so focused. You're enjoying the activity. You are in the zone. And that's where the really innovative ideas come from. So when you are handling the monotonous stuff with systems, you have more time to let your brain slip into that state of flow, which means you have more time to be creative. You have more time to innovate in your business, to take your business to the next level. Think about the coach who is working on taking client notes. So documenting client notes after a client session. If they don't have a system to do this so that it's simple and easy, then they're not going to have the time and the space and the energy to really think about creative ideas that they could share with their client on how to approach the challenges they're having, or to think about resources that they might know about that could help that client take the next step forward. Or if you're a course creator and you are mapping out your outline, if you're consistently thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to get this social media post out, I have to do this, I have to do that, and you don't have a process for it, you're never going to sit and think about what your potential course takers are going to need from your course, and then create this outline that meets them where they're at and helps them step forward. Let me give you another example. I'm big on examples today, I guess. Maybe you're a writer. I know a lot of coaches and course creators and membership site owners are creating books. They're writing books. So suppose that you are writing a book and you have a system in place for market research. You have systems in place for character development. You have systems in place for structuring the plot of your book or the outline of your book. When you have those tasks handled, then you can lose yourself in the act of writing the content that is going to help your readers either slip into some fiction writing or slip into that nonfiction and take a step toward bettering their situation. You're really allowing the story to unfold naturally. you get into a state of flow. So systems create space for creative energy so that you can experience flow. I want you to think about the last time you experienced flow. Was it when you were surrounded by all of the mess, all of the different things you had to do that didn't necessarily have a step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you could just knock it out? Probably not. Probably your most unique ideas came when there was a neatness about you, whether that is in your physical workspace or in your mental space, because you don't have to think, what was that next step I take when I have to hit publish on this? What do I do? Oh yeah, okay, I have to hit that button. And then I have to hit that button. I have to make sure that box is filled out. But if you have a system for all of that, you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Think about the last time you were in a state of flow. And for this week's action item, I want you to, once again, go back to your task list that you created from episode 131 when we first started our Systems and Processes series. You have already identified recurring tasks. You've started to develop a mindset that supports systemization. There we go. And now we're going to take it a little step further. I want you to select one task that directly contributes to your creative work. Is it journaling? Is it getting outside to work? Is it surfing Facebook to see what people are talking about? What is it that contributes to your creative work? Is it sitting in front of a whiteboard with a marker, a brand new marker, and an eraser, and brainstorming just magically happens? Maybe you're a content creator and part of your creative process involves brainstorming content ideas. The actual brainstorming is the creative part, but maintaining a system to track and categorize those ideas could be automated. So this week, spend 15 to 20 minutes figuring out how you can build a system around the administrative part of the task that is creative. Because when you do that, you'll actually have more time, more mental energy for the creative stuff, the actual brainstorming in the case of our content creator who is brainstorming content ideas. The key is to systematize what you can so that you have more creative space. To recap, today we spent our time talking about how implementing systems and processes really does help boost your creativity. So if you've been kind of on the fence in terms of embracing the idea of systems and processes, let this be the function that kind of forces you into saying, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to embrace systems and processes because I know that I really enjoy being creative. I know that I need more creativity time in my business, and that I want to free up my mind to allow for that synergy of organization and creativity so that I get more flow. Systems are not meant to cage you. They are meant to be a launch pad. Listen to that again. I want you to hear what I mean. Systems aren't meant to cage you. So even if you're not really a systems person, I freely admit I am. I love systems and processes. Even if you feel like systems are kind of boxing you in and making you do things a certain way, they're absolutely not meant to cage you. They are meant to create a launch pad so that your creativity can actually become in abundance in your business and in your life. So your task for this week is to identify one task that directly fuels your creative work. I want you to devise a system around the administrative parts of that task. Remember, we are not systematizing creativity. We are working to systemize the other stuff so that creativity can run free and be abundant. All right, there you have it. If you found today's episode helpful, if you found this series on systems and processes helpful to really think about it in a different light, I know some of you might be thinking about hiring a virtual assistant or a VA. This is a great way to get prepared for that, is to really think about what you can systematize, what processes you can put in place so that they can just take them over seamlessly. If you have found any of this helpful, I would love to invite you to subscribe to the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast and leave a review. Let me know what you're taking away from this episode or this series as a whole. so that I know how to better serve you as we continue forward. And I'll see you back here next week for another episode of the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast, where a focus on mentoring, community, and implementation removes the overwhelm of building your successful and profitable business and adds in a dose of momentum. Until next time, have a healthy, safe, and happy week.